My name is Stefan Sekula. I'm one of the owners of Design Woodworking, which has now been sold to Merritt West Woodwork, which is an Ohio firm. I'm now the general manager, but I did run the business with my partner David Warfolk since 1989.
I met my business partner Stefan through my wife. Eventually, I realized in my business that being a one-man or a small shop owner and hiring a few people was a very, very time-consuming operation. I ended up doing a lot of jobs after hours. It was difficult to get all the work that I had done in a proper amount of time, and I realized I needed help. So I started working on Stefan to see if I could get him to join me because I thought we would make a good team.
I knew I wanted to run my own business probably around 1987, 1988. And my wife and I were living in San Francisco. I was working for a very reputable general contractor there as a site superintendent, and complex jobs with a lot of finish work and mill work in them. And it just occurred to me at that point in time that I could probably do the work that I was having subcontractors do to a higher degree of quality and better level of finish. So started entertaining the idea back then, looked around cheaper areas of California.
I have been running my own business for as long as I can remember.
Design Woodworking existed at the time. David started the business on his own, had a couple of different names. It was David Warfolk Custom Woodworking, and I think it was just Custom Woodworking for a while. But he ran it as a sole proprietor. The business was here and existed, just very, very small, very different from it is now.
Design Woodworking has always tried to make the best products that were available to be made. When I say that, I don't mean to be boastful, but we always had very high aspirations for doing high-end woodwork with a high degree of craftsmanship and detail. And we, both Stefan and I, felt we had an eye for the detailing and for the craftsmanship of this type of work. In order to do this kind of work, we had to be able to attract a higher end client. So we marketed ourselves to the San Francisco market as much as possible, which is where the best work was being done. Design Woodworking has been in business as a corporation since I think 1998. Stefan and I became partners in 1989, and before that I actually started Design Woodworking as an entity, as a company, when I moved to Lodi in 1981. And I've been in this current location this physical location since 1985.
Our customer base is pretty interesting. I mean, I signed confidentiality agreements, so I can't really speak about names, but generally speaking, our customers are pretty well-to-do. They're in their 40s to 70s at this point. We do participate in building second, third, and fourth homes for these people in areas like Hawaii, Montana, Pebble Beach, you name it. So that's our customer base. We actually don't do any marketing at all, or we have not to date. We've never spent a dime on advertising or marketing. Primarily word of mouth, and a lot of that information comes from general contractors that we work with and a fairly large group of architects and interior designers that we work with in the Bay Area. So the word gets passed on, you need somebody qualified, try these guys out. Majority of our clients are from the greater Bay Area. At least that's our current client base, with Design Woodworking being sold to Merritt Woodwork. client base just exploded. We've got people in Boston, New York, Texas, Florida, what have you. Right now we have projects in Beverly Hills, Lake Tahoe, South Florida, San Francisco, and the peninsula. Some people are from overseas. We have a client from Japan right now as well, who's building a house in California.
Yeah, we have a very unique shop set up here in Lodi. We started out in a single space, this old Quonset hut that currently houses mostly fabrication. And our finished department. And our offices as well. But as the business grew, we also expanded into other buildings. So as we got more work and needed more space, we purchased a building down the street about a block away, which is actually comprised of two separate buildings. And there we have our millwork facility for processing solid wood. And our veneer facility for laying up and pressing wood. And a short while meaning about 6 years ago, we had a situation where we had two very large projects coming on board at the same time, which would have completely flooded our shop operation. So our last building acquisition was right next door to this one, where we actually cajoled the owner into selling it to us so that we would have sufficient capacity to complete our jobs.
Tremendous impact of technology on how we do our work. And when I started doing woodwork, first grade or 12th grade, doesn't matter. I mean, it was all pencil and paper, hand-drawn stuff. What's happened in the last 20 years is just an explosion of computer-controlled equipment, computer-assisted drawing, very, very complex systems for doing what used to be handwork in most cases. So we've incorporated a great deal of that. A lot of the machines we use have numeric switching and controllers, even if they don't have an operator interface where you program in cuts or position of tooling or what have you. But somewhere inside of there's some software driving these machines, and it's completely changed how we do business.
We were initially a hands-on woodworking company. We had some very basic machinery, just what you would find in most production shops. Obviously, table saws, planers, joiners, routers, band saws, just the basic machinery. And as the years went by, machinery took a great leap, and more and more of the machinery was incorporating computer controllers, and we had to adapt to what the machinery was outfitted with. The biggest jump for us was when we actually in two areas. Number one, in our drafting, we used to do all our shop drawings with hand draft techniques, real old school paper and pencil type of work. And we were introduced to AutoCAD midway through our tenure as business owners. And as soon as AutoCAD was adopted by us, we could see the potential for using AutoCAD in other aspects of the business. Our biggest leap was when we purchased a CNC router, and that allowed us to go directly from AutoCAD drafting right to parts cut out on the CNC. We get our supplies and mostly our plywood from one or two suppliers in the Bay Area. We've had long-standing relationships with certain suppliers, and they've both supplied us with standard materials, and also they will procure for us specialized material based on our particular needs here. And they'll go so far as to bring in extra material and stock it for us, knowing that we will eventually be using it for future projects. Currently, we have 51 employees, 6 of whom work mostly out of the Bay Area and as installers. The rest of them are primarily live locally and work in the shop on a day-to-day basis. Finding employees for us has been, well, let's put it this way. We've been very fortunate. We have done very little advertising in terms of trying to employ individuals to come work here. And part of the reason is that it's difficult to put into words what it is that we're looking for.
But the best methodology for finding new employees lies in, again, word of mouth. And people who've worked here, and they'll say, you know, I know this guy and his shop is slow and he was good when I worked with him, and they come over and get incorporated into the business. So primarily it's been word of mouth, and sometimes people walking in the door, because people are unrestrained about that. They'll walk in and say, are you hiring? For the most part, they don't come in with a resume or introduce themselves. They just want a job. So if you want to work here, best case is to come prepared. If you walk through the door, be prepared to give your full name, what your skills are, and hand a resume to me. And then I'm going to pay attention.